Good morning. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a podcast brought to you by Joy's House. We are happy. We're just really happy that you're here. Caregiver Crossing is a podcast that was created just for you, the caregiver. I'm Tina McIntosh.
And I'm Terry Stacy. We're here every week, and we bring you experts from across the country, providing comfort and resources and joy to all of you that are caregivers. But the podcast really serves to raise family caregivers of today, but also for tomorrow. So thank you all so much for being here. Tina?
I'm going to say some words that I think you've probably heard before, and I'm going to guess you probably don't really know what they mean. And we're going to figure all of that out in today's segment. Structured family caregiving. So structured family caregiving is one way for states to handle the needs of an aging population that is growing rapidly, and people are just quite simply living longer. It is a government program that empowers caregivers to care for seniors and those living with disabilities who wish to remain at home or in the home of an approved caregiver, rather than becoming institutionalized into a skilled nursing facility. Indiana launched its pilot program in 2013. Now statewide, it helps more than 4,000 families and saves the state roughly $2,000 per person per month compared with institutional care. So while this program is growing in popularity in Indiana and in several other states such as California, New Jersey, New York, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, there are still many who don't know how this program functions or how to access them when needed. That is why we are joined today by Nicole Neulieb, who is the Structured Family Care Director at Healing Hands. And boy, do we have a lot of questions. First of all, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to get right into this. What duties are primary caregivers expected to provide when they're part of the Structured Family Caregiving Program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say overall, the biggest responsibility that our caregivers have is to communicate with us. And so communication comes, through all different sort of platforms these days. Right now, our largest form of communication for our caregivers is the system that we use that they would log into every day. And they would just provide some notes based off of a service plan that we went over with them during our initial process. But that is going to be the majority of their communication comes through the notes that they put in, and we have a quality assurance that reads through those to make sure that there are no, red flags or areas of concern that maybe we need to follow up on or communicate that to the care manager. Aside that, another form of communication that's going to be pretty important is going to be, calling us or contacting us if there were any sort of emergencies or concerns that caregiver might have. So really just communication is just super, super important with this program. A lot because we don't have aides from our agency going into that home. The dynamic of this program is obviously that client, that caregiver live together. So super, super important to communicate with that providing agency.
And what kinds of things are these people doing as a part of the program? Like, what are they doing for their loved ones? Is it stuff that they would be doing anyway?
It is, absolutely. Just the benefit of it all is that this caregiver is going to be compensated for the assistance that they're providing. Absolutely. That assistance are things that we do every single day that, we just don't ever think about not being able to do those things until we're in that position and we're like, oh my gosh, I need some help. So things like dressing and undressing, helping with transfers, transportation, meal prep, some personal care. So yes, things that we would do every day. It's just now these caregivers are able to be compensated for that.
And then does participation in structured family care, does that disqualify clients from any other benefits under the aged and disabled waiver, such as adult day services or prepackaged medication deliveries or respite stays?
Another great question. And currently with the waiver, the only thing that is not allowable is in-home respite. So clients are still able to go to a facility for respite stay. What we like to do with our program is we always encourage families to maybe find another friend or family member. They can live in the home or not live in the home, but we can utilize this individual as like a respite provider that can come into the home once or twice a week, that can be put in the schedule, and that primary caregiver can get, a little bit of a break.
Okay, I have so many, I feel like rapid fire at Nicole here. Can people still work another job?
Yeah, that's another great question. Wow, absolutely they can. We also encourage that with our caregivers, whether that is working from home or working outside of the home. We still have other programs that we can implement in the home, like a PA where a home health agency would send in a certified home health aide to cover that work schedule. Although it's still a caregiver going to another job, for some of these caregivers, that is a breath of fresh air for them. And it's also a great time out for our clients. Yeah.
All right, here's another one. Are there
please.
Are there other agencies in the state of Indiana who also do this same program, that do a structured family caregiving program, or are you the only ones?
There are quite a few, actually. When we first started back in 2017, there was only maybe a handful of providers that were on that pick list. Now it might even be 2 pages. I think it also depends on what level that client is. I've noticed that some providers are on a pick list for like a level 1, whereas they are not on a pick list for a level 3. So sometimes providers, if the case is a little bit easier and it's easier for them to be able to staff that and be on top of things, then that might be what's easiest for them. So there are tons and tons of providers now. It's really exciting how much this has blown up.
There must be qualifications, though, that must be approved for participation in the program, right? There's got to be some qualifications.
Yep. For caregivers, you have to be 18 years old. You have to live in the home with that client, or you guys can share a common wall. So for example, if a client has apartment 1A, that caregiver can have 2A or 1B right next to each other, on top of each other. They just have to share a common wall. It cannot be a parent of a minor. That is the only unapproved caregiver as of right now. We do allow spouses now, legal guardians, power of attorneys. It doesn't have to be family. It can be a friend. That really doesn't matter. And then as long as they hit those requirements, they do have to pass a background check. And there are some things on there that will prohibit them from being able to be a caregiver in the state of Indiana. And that's something that we will talk with them a little bit more in that scenario. And then if everything's okay with the background, the next step is for them to turn in a negative TB test. Once they do that, then we go ahead and move forward with all the paperwork to get them going.
Nicole, am I correct that the guidelines for that used to be very strict, so those have loosened up over time? Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, especially with the approved caregivers, that's really changed as well. Yeah, it's been super helpful.
Well, of course, and I want, yes, and thank you for any advocacy that you all have had to do with that at Healing Hands and others, because that is a big deal. And just you might be a spouse caring for a loved one. We know that it changes your life. And I love that the government has created a program to help keep people in home and community-based care in their own homes, living with the people they love the most. And there's nothing wrong with institutional care if that's what somebody needs. But boy, our state has historically been very bad at putting people into nursing homes when they didn't need to be there. And so this program I see as a change in our culture, if you will, of caring in the state of Indiana. And so I just thank you for what you're doing at Healing Hands.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Last question in our rapid fire here, Nicole, is when is the appropriate time for people to consider applying for this? And then how do they go about it?
In my opinion, I feel like if a family member or a friend is noticing an individual that's having some difficulty with some, daily activity that we find that we do every single day, if they're having some issues with that, if they're noticing maybe some memory loss, things like that, is going to be when you kind of want to start looking into services. The first step is to contact that AAA. They're always welcome to contact us. We do a lot of advocacy on our end. And so if we get a referral that's just a call in that maybe another family has told them about this program, it's our job to, of course, resource these individuals to where they need to start. And then again, we take, full accountability for keeping in communication with that AAA and with that family, just to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. And it's an easy start and easy process.
Before we go, how can families apply for structured family care?
Their first step is to go through that area on aging that's going to help that individual get the aged and disabled waiver. Once they get the waiver and they get their Medicaid approved, they would be able to, the case managers or options counselors would talk to them about the different opportunities that they have with the waiver. And that's when they would initially hear about structured family. And then that case manager would give them a pick list for any of those activities that they might be interested in. And then those families can call us, and that's how we get the ball rolling.
Nicole Neulieb, thank you, from Structured Family Care. She's the director at Healing Hands. Thank you so much for all of the great information, and we really appreciate you. Come back and join us again soon. As we close the show, we just want to remind everybody that you can contact Tina McIntosh for more information and resources to help you through the journey of caregiving at tina@joycehouse.org. And we have a lot of people to thank that have been supporters of Caregiver Crossing, including Katz, Sapper, and Miller. KSM is a leading advisory, tax, and audit firm providing the inspiration, insight, and technical expertise you need to help you achieve your next great thing. Flanner Buchanan Cremation and Burial, the Indianapolis funeral homes of Flanner Buchanan have been helping families plan the final farewell for nearly 150 years, providing comfort, care, and convenience during difficult times. And finally, AARP, leading a revolution in the way people view and live life after 50. We love that they're working to empower people to choose how they live as they age. On behalf of Tina McIntosh, we're sure grateful that you tuned in today to Caregiver Crossing. And until next time, take good care of each other.